All right, everybody knows what time it is. It is the Wolfer Power Hour. We're going to do some TA. We're going to figure out what is going on with Bitcoin. Man, it's weird right now, man. It's weird. You know, it's very volatile. Things are doing what things are doing, and I can't call it. It's what a lot of people are saying. Like it's yeah, there's some weird volatility today. We have the FOMC meeting. Jerome Powell is supposed to be speaking in about 30 minutes from now. There's been the FOMC has been meeting about rates over the past day, yesterday and today. Bitcoin's getting some serious buy volume right now. It's already knocked out about 20% of the previous candle in terms of volume in literally 1 minute. Which is crazy on the hourly candle, on the hourly chart. So in any case, we're just going to talk about what's going on. And if you're here from the future watching this replay, we appreciate you for watching. If you're here from Twitter, scroll up, hit the follow button. We do this every single day. If you are here from YouTube, obviously make sure you hit the subscribe button. Then boom, baby, bang on that notification bell. Comment your altcoins that you want me to look at in the relevant sections. We're going to do some teaching today as well. And we're just going to take it from there, man. We're just going to take it from there. Let's get into the comments section really quick before we start off, right? We've got Get Spitfired. Looks like he showed up a little bit early, he or she. 10 minutes to go. Yep. And now we are live, baby. We are live. TA and Taco Tuesday says Jason Horn. Still waiting for a big dip. I mean, we're in the dip. Is it going to go further? That is yet to be determined. We will see soon. It's not Tuesday. It is Wednesday. Yeah, Wings Wednesday or something. Get you some wings. And then we got Adrian Kent. He's here. He's always here. Appreciate all of you. Man, let's just get into the charts. We know that we wanted to get into a short trade, and we were in a short trade yesterday, actually. And let's just talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. The crypto bubbles are looking good. Crypto bubbles are looking good. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Let me do my super handy dandy transition. Right. Boom. We are down a little bit on our short. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Right? Happens. Look at these crypto bubbles, man. Look at these crypto bubbles. But we do have locked in. Right? Okay, no big deal. Like we have locked in profits. Whatever. You know, the volatility on this thing is crazy right now. Like this thing's just bing bong and bing bong and bing 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 bing. Like look at this. Look at this volume candle down here, right? It has been 3 minutes into this hour, and it's already taken up like what? How much volume is this? Like that's a what was it about? Yeah, taking up 1.75%. Dude, this thing's done a third of the volume of the previous candle in 3 minutes. That's crazy. So expect some volatility around this FOMC meeting. I mean, this is where you can get stopped out. Absolutely. But look at these crypto bubbles, man. Everything's going up right now, at least for the time being, right? We'll see where it actually plays out. Obviously, we got to watch the charts and see what's going on with them, things of that sort. But, you know, let's just get straight into the Bitcoin analysis. If you guys got anything for me, drop it in the comments section. But I am going to just go ahead and get straight into the analysis, and we'll just take it from there. Gold's pumping too. Gold new all-time high. Bing, bang, boom. Massive all-time high. I think it was $3,047, something like that. I'm looking for a short at about $3,050, right? That's what we were talking about in the gold group today inside of Verified Investing. Obviously, everybody, if you watch my channel long enough, you know that I am the gold guy at Verified Investing, one of the pro traders over there. You can go to the Verified Network, check it out, you know. Go fact check me on it, right? And there's only like 6 of us in the world, so there's that. Anyways, in any case, let's see what's going on. All right. I got too many tabs open, man. I'm trying to go back and forth in between tabs. It's not working. Okay. Now, we know what we were looking at, right? Which is the bear flag and the bear pennant. And there is something that could be potentially happening here in a second that I'll show you that could paint a bullish case scenario for Bitcoin. We knew what our levels were. I kind of talked about this yesterday, but whenever we're inside of this falling wedge, right? We've technically broken out of this falling wedge, but in my opinion, I don't think we've broken out of it. Okay. And that's the unfortunate fact of the matter, because you move this up to where it's actually got the touch points and your breakout point is actually up, right? As you can see, here's your first touch point, second touch point, third touch point, and we still have yet to break out of it. It's going to have to go above about 85.6 to break out of it, unfortunately. And that's just what it is, right? So let's do the measurement on that. Say you were to break out here. You're looking at about a 92K, 92K. That's like the bullish case scenario, right? So it's about 12%. So it needs to be at about 9. Yeah, about 90, almost 93K, man. I mean, that's a healthy move. That's a healthy move. We'll see what happens in any case. But yeah, I mean, serious volatility. I mean, look at these candles, man. Like, look at the swing on this thing. It went from in 6 minutes, it's gone to a high of $85,000 and a low of $83,750. That's $1,250 in a minute, in 6 minutes. I mean, this is Fed Day 101, man. Volatility, expect volatility. Okay, so we know about the falling wedge. We know where the breakout point is. It's right around here, somewhere in the $85,500 to $85,000 range, depending on where we break out, right? Okay. Now, I want to just really quick, I want to like teach people exactly how I do a falling wedge. So the exact way that you're going to do a falling wedge and then obviously find your target and your stop losses from there is as such, right? You find 3 touch points on the top end line, and those touch points should be slanting downward as you see on the screen. Then you would like to see 2 touch points at least on the bottom line. And then these will always come down here and run into each other eventually, forming what is called a wedge, right? So we've got our 3 touch points. We've got our 2 touch points on the bottom. It's forming our wedge pattern. Then you take your measurement from the bottom of the wedge to the top of the wedge where your second touch point is. And then boom, you drag it over here. Bam, it gives you your target. This would be where your breakout point is. And then you take about 75% of that measured move. So I always measure the full move and then I divide that by 4 and then times it by 3. So essentially here you've got 12% on the measured move. You would subtract 25% from that. That would bring you to about 9%. And our measured move would be right here at about $93,773 on Bitcoin if we were to actually break out of this. Now, secondarily, for the breakout to actually happen, you need to see a subsequent breakout of this, bam, a back test, and then a bounce. And that's where you're going to be taking your target to, right? And I'll show you what this trade actually looks like really quickly. Boom. You set your stop loss either inside of the channel or below the previous lows. Boom, you target the upper end channel. You would like to have a 1.5 to 2x risk to reward ratio, and the higher the risk to reward, obviously the better. So I would set my stop loss inside of this channel because you know that if you come back down inside of this channel, you are probably going to start trending down because this is now what is known as a pivot point. So that is exactly how you are going to chart and find the targets and your stop losses and the actual pattern on a chart for a falling wedge pattern, which is a bullish pattern. So hopefully everybody realizes exactly how to do that now. Secondarily, let's get on to the other aspect of this, right? Because now we're like, I mean, dude, this thing's crazy. This is crazy volatility. That would be your target, right? Basically. Let's delete these brush strokes. Boom. All right, so let's take the falling wedge off. Okay. We had this cup and handle. It is trying to break out, but now that I see this new kind of like pattern forming, this is really your handle, right? This is really your handle right here, somewhere probably around like this, right? And is this going to break out? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a bullish megaphone pattern. But now that you've come down and taken out, like, okay, let's teach you how to do a cup and handle, right? So now in order to obviously chart your cup and handle, what you're going to have to do is you're going to come over here to your brush tool, and then you'll find this right here, which is your arc, right? And then you'll take the arc and essentially just drag it over from the top end of that cup to the other side of the cup, you'll find your two highs, and then you'll drag it down to the low, which that low is right here, right? We've obviously already done that, but I wanted to show you where you find that, how you do that. Then whenever you see that cup kind of form, what you need to find is the handle, and the handle is essentially going to be this looks an awful lot like a bull flag, or at the very least a bullish megaphone pattern, right? So whenever you're doing this, you're going to then find your target, and your target is going to be measuring from the bottom of this cup to the top of the cup, right? And then you just drag it over here simply to the breakout point, and then you measure about 75% of the measured move. And the easiest way to do that is just literally measure this here. Boom, takes you all the way up. You got about a 10% measured move. So I would say measure from about 75% or 7.5%. That's about 75% of the measured move. And we could see a price target right here at about $91,283 on Bitcoin if it were to break out of this cup and handle. Now, obviously, what you're going to want to see is you're going to want to see Bitcoin come up here, right, and break out. In order to confirm, it needs to come outside of it, back test it, and then get a subsequent bounce. And this is exactly where you would be entering a long position that would look something like this, right? And then you take it and you drag it up to your target, and then obviously you put it lower than the previous swing low. Boom, you've got a 5x risk to reward ratio on this. Again, only if this actually breaks out and breaks above the top end of this handle. Now, you want this handle to be flat, and the less, I guess, slanted down that it is probably the better. But if it's slanting down, you want it to be slanting no less than 45 degrees. And that is essentially how you chart and figure out where the price target is on a cup and handle pattern. Now, what are we doing on this cup and handle, right? Well, we know where our breakout point is. It's right here at about $84,900, somewhere in that realm, right? And, you know, we'll see if we get that breakout here after Powell speaks here in about 18 minutes or something like that. But a lot of times, like, people aren't super bullish on Powell. Let's be real. Like, people aren't bullish on the fact that, you know, whenever they don't cut interest rates and they leave them the same or they raise them, it's not good for risk on assets, right? Usually, right? Like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's probably going to, you know, likely fall if they start raising interest rates, because it's like, okay, they're raising interest rates because they want people to be in the United States dollar. And that's exactly what they're trying to get people to do whenever they raise the interest rates. It's like, hold US dollars and loan them out, right? That's what they want you to do. So that's essentially what interest rate decisions are that's how they're going to affect this market, right? Secondarily, we have the, that's like the second, like, bullish case scenario for this, right? Now, there is a third potential cup and handle, in my opinion, right? And let's put that inside of the cup and handle, and then let's put this one inside of the falling wedge. Boom. That way, whenever we click on it, boom, it shows you like where you could be entering and all that good stuff. Now, there is a secondary like cup and handle, and there is like a market structure shift here, potentially, right? Potentially. I'm not saying that they're, but, you know, let's zoom in actually. Boom. That's your cup and handle, right? So that's your cup. Then you're going to want to see your handle coming out somewhere around here, right? You're going to say, okay, maybe it comes out like that. You know, it drags it down to the bottom of this channel. Boom. And then, bam, right? So then obviously here's your target on that. It's not going to be as lengthy of a target as the first cup and handle that we measured, obviously, because it's a much smaller cup and handle. But if we were to drag this target out, we would see it somewhere in the about $87,000 range. I would say that's about 75% of the measured move. Boom. And then this is 1 hour cup and handle. Micro CNH. Boom. And then you save it. Bam. Take it off of the chart, right? So we know where the breakout point is probably going to be on that. It's probably going to be above the $85,000 range, in my opinion, right? That's where you're going to see a breakout potentially of this cup and handle. Now, in terms of market structure, you did take out this high, right? So you came over here, right? And I'll show you market structure in a nutshell. Okay. So zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so here is the difference in between macro and micro market structure in a nutshell, right? You have a low here, then you have a high, then you have a higher low. Then hold on. What am I saying? Okay, yeah. You have a low right here, then you have a high. That's actually our ultimate high. Then you have a higher low, but then you have a lower high. And then guess what? You start to break market structure here. Lower, low, right? Then this previous low right over here. Then you have another lower high than this previous high right here. Then what did we do? We came over here and bam, set another lower low. Then what happened? Lower high, right? Then what happened? Lower low, right? And if we stay down here under this high right here, we are in still a downtrend with a lower high yet again. And that would be favoring downside, right? Now, here's micro market structure. We're going to zoom in a little bit and see what we can figure out, okay? Now, the micro market structure on this is going to be inherently different, right? You've got your high, right? Your high is up here. Then you've got your low. You've got a lower high, right? And then you have a lower low. Obviously, we have a lower high yet again than this high. And then we have, obviously the lower low. But look at this. Could this be a higher low than this previous low? It absolutely could be. And if we go even more micro on this, we can see here's the low, here's a high, right? And then here's a higher low, higher high, higher low. And then if we come up here and we take out this high right here, this is a micro uptrend. And that's where we would see a market structure shift, at least to the upside. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if it's going to happen yet because I believe we need to take out like 85.3. Yeah, it's like 85.3 is a new higher high on this, right? So we'll see what happens with it. But in any case, from a micro perspective, we could see a bump, right? But from a macro perspective, we could still see a dump down as long as we stay below essentially like 95,000, right? 95.5. So there's kind of your, I don't know, micro and macro market structure as it sits right now, right? So let's zoom out just a little bit on this little segment right here. And I'll show you another potential bullish charting pattern that could be, maybe playing out. We'll see if it plays out. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to play out, but I can give you the parameters that would make it play out. But we also have the descending triangle, right? And obviously we know that this descending triangle, right? This is exactly how you figure out if there's a descending triangle, which is a bearish charting pattern, right? This usually breaks down and not up. So we've got our first touch point up here, our second touch point here, our third touch point here. And as you can see, this is trending downward, showing lower highs. And then you have a absolutely flat horizontal line that is essentially showing your support, and you're setting the same or even lower or equal lows, right? That is how you're going to find your descending triangle, right? And as you can see, there's always going to be a line in the sand that once you reach it, a decision either has to be made up or down, right? And so whenever you're looking at this, what you'll do is then you will take from the second touch point or the first touch point, depending on, how strong this trend is going to be. You can take from the second touch point or the third touch point on the top end of this trend channel and just measure it down, right, to the second touch point. Bam, you drag it over here, boom, and that gives you your price target. Now, I'm obviously already got this price target drawn, so we'll just scroll down and I'll show you the price target. You then measure 75% of whatever that is, because that is what is called the measured move. And this measured move is 21.5%. So you would take 75% of that. So call it about 16.5%. This could take you right down to about the previous all-time high on Bitcoin at about $64,000. And that is your measured move right here. And then boom, just chart it right there, save it inside of your folder. Bam, you've got your price target on your descending triangle, right? So that's exactly how you're going to be able to chart, figure out what your entry level is. This would be a really good place to enter right up here. If you're looking for a trade, this is where you would start shorting, right? You would short at the top end of this trend channel. And once that trend line is broken, you do not want to be in that trade anymore. And that's where you would either target right here or all the way down here for like a 20x risk to reward ratio on this. The safest way to trade this is to enter once you have broken the downside of this wedge pattern or this descending triangle. and you back test it. Boom, enter your short, set your stop loss just outside of that level right there that you've now flipped from support to now resistance. Boom, target all the way down here. As you can see, this would be probably, yeah, about an 8.5x risk to reward ratio. That's the easiest way to trade it and the safest way to trade it. So that's kind of what we're looking at on, the bearish side. There's your kind of, I don't know, that would be my price target on this is about $74,000, right? Are you going to come all the way down here to $64,000? Maybe, but the previous all-time high is at about 73.6, right? You could come down to 64, but are you going to? Not 100% sure on that. You could come all the way down to 61 potentially even, but are we ever going to get down that low again? Yet to be determined. We gotta take it, minute by minute, hour by hour, candle by candle, day by day, level by level. So until we get down there, we really won't know, right? And then obviously we have what we all know as the bear flag. Now I'm going to show you exactly how to chart a bear flag, right? Because I don't want people to just come over here and just follow my trades, right? I want you to understand exactly why I'm trading this, right? So I want you to understand exactly the levels that I'm seeing and why. I want you to understand how I am picking out these charting patterns and why, the probabilities of them, where to enter, where to exit, how to find your profit targets. That's a key, right? How to absolutely minimize your risk. You need to be able to minimize your risk on these trades, because if you're not minimizing your risk, I absolutely promise you are going to blow your account. So whenever you're taking these trades, you need to understand where to place and set your stop losses in order to be able to mitigate your downside risk if this trade were to go against you. Because in my opinion, you need to I have an 80% win rate, right? But that means that out of 100 trades, 20 of my trades lose and 80 of my trades win. So I always take every trade like it is going to be my next losing trade, right? And so I always understand, how much am I willing to risk if I am wrong on this trade, if it is that 20% that I lose on, right? So that's why I want to teach people and let them know this is how you actually trade. This is how you pick out the levels. This is how you pick out the charting patterns, the candlesticks. This is how you read the indicators. And this is how you set up your trade for minimal risk with a maximum reward, right? So let's just get into what exactly, this is exactly how you're going to be able to chart a bear flag, essentially, right? And the same will go for a bull flag. It's just the opposite direction. Now, a bear flag is obviously a charting pattern that is going to be moving to the downside, right? So whenever you see a big move down like this, right? If we zoom in on this chart, you can see that there's a massive move down right here from this peak all the way down to this low right here. And I'll zoom out just a little bit more. You just take your staff, boom, you measure it all the way down. Then you start to find your trend channel inside of it, right? Whenever it starts to go sideways and upwards, now it has to be either flat or upwards. We want to see it slanting upwards and not slanting downwards, because that would actually not be a bearish charting pattern, right? So you draw your flag here, and as you can see, you want 3 touch points. 1, 2, 3. We have 4 on the top trend. We have 1, 2, 3 on the bottom trend. And then whenever this breaks, the way that you can find your profit target is literally just copy and paste this over here, drag it to the breakout point, measure 75% of whatever that move is, and that's your price target. And that's giving you about 71,750. Now, what's the safest way to trade this? Well, you enter a short position on the break and retest of that flag pattern. So as you can see, we have the break right here, right? That's pretty easy to see. We broke down, boom, and then we came back and we bearishly retested it and got a rejection from it. This is where you enter, and then you set your stop loss just above those previous highs, right? So this high or even this high all the way over here, right? And so I'm going to set my stop loss all the way up here, right? Which is not that far away. And then you come down here and you target that full or the 75% of that measured move, boom. And look at the risk to reward on this thing, man. 21-0. These are the types of trades that you want to be taking. These are the types of charting patterns that tend to play out a lot. And I am a huge proponent of trading the break and then retest of that line, because this line right here that you broke is now a pivot point. You pivoted from support here to now it's under it. Now it's a resistance line. Boom. Breakout, retest, and then move downwards. And that is where you enter your short position. Boom, for a 20-to-1 risk to reward ratio. Pretty simple. So that's what we're seeing on the bear flag right now. And if you were here yesterday, you know exactly what I was talking about. I was like, hey, look, I'm already short here at like $84,000 or whatever. I already locked in $900 profit down here, right? And I basically said, look, I think we're probably going to come back up here and retest either this bear flag, right? And I'll show you the bear flag, or I think we're going to retest this bear pennant, right? And we did. We retested both of them. Now we are getting a rejection at the bear flag, and you're seeing RSI that had got into overbought territory. Boom, it's trying to do a signal line crossover. We'll see if that happens. And then you've also got your stochastic that reached overbought territory. Boom, trended all the way downwards, right? Massive, massive overbought, like overbought city. And then you've got market cipher B, obviously printing a red dot, and your momentum wave is starting to trend downwards, right? Obviously, VWAP is trending downwards now as well, right? Signal line crossover to the downside. So that is kind of what I'm seeing in a nutshell, right? So if we're looking at this bear pennant, right, we can actually even alter this bear pennant a little bit. In my opinion, I'm not saying that you have to, right? But you can also make a bullish case for this, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, I'll show you. This is essentially how you're going to be able to find what would be called a rising wedge, or not a rising wedge, but a rising triangle, right? It's where the top of it is going to be essentially flat, right? And you want to have at least 3 to 4 touch points on this. And then boom, look at this, right? That's where you're seeing now same highs, right? Same highs across, but you're setting higher lows. As you can see, higher. Here's your initial low, higher low, higher low. If you come here and bounce right at the 82.4 range, boom, you could be blasting off. Now, here's where you find your profit target, right? So on the second time that you test the bottom end of this, that's where you're going to drag it, boom, and you're going to come up to either the third or fourth touch point, whatever it is. If you get a breakout here, boom, you take 75% of that measured move, you measure it out. Okay, it's about $87,400 would be your price target on this rising, or this triangle pattern, right? It's called an ascending triangle. So there you go. And then boom, just save that. Obviously, ascending triangle. That way you can turn it on and off like very quickly. Boom, and bam. And you know where your breakout target is. This is where you would enter your long position, right? This is the safest way to enter and exit this trade. Boom, you come up here, you set it right under the previous low, this swing low right here, right? You set your stop loss just outside of that swing low. Bam, and then you take it all the way up to the profit target. Boom, you've got a 2x risk to reward ratio on that. That is actually a really good trade. And if you were to get this entry upon the confirmation, once you flip this previous resistance to support, boom, and then you take it up to the profit target. Now, could it continue to move even further than that? Absolutely. You could see it move, something like this, bam, all the way up, and then drag this up there. And you could see something like this happening where you're actually coming up here to about $88,400. So you just have to take this level by level whenever you see something like this breaking out. That's really what it comes down to whenever you're setting your profit targets. Now, that is kind of like we'll call it like a bullish case potential scenario. We'll see what happens with it. But I don't necessarily think that that's going to be necessarily what exactly plays out, right? I think we have a micro market structure shift, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're absolutely going to break out, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to continue moving up. We could just come right back down here, set a higher low, and then move up, right? Come down here to $80,500, or even come down to this swing low, 81.5, boom, bump up again. But once we start taking out this swing low down here, that's where you're going to start thinking about, okay, we're probably coming back to the 80K range. Take out this swing low. That's where you're going to start thinking about, okay, we're probably going to come back here and start taking out these swing lows, right? So that's just something to keep in mind, and take advantage of the things that I'm teaching. That way you can kind of understand the markets in real time. This is a very choppy, as you can see, right? I mean, look at this chop. This is market chop, right? Chop, 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 right? This is a really hard market to trade in. There's nothing wrong with sitting out, right? cash is always a position. You don't always have to be in a trade, right? So looks like it's 2:30. We're going to see what happens with Jerome Powell, right? Let's see if he pumps the market or if he dumps the market, right? But I do want to go over another charting pattern that could be, popping up right now. So this is exactly how you are going to, I mean, it's not dumping yet. We'll see what happens. Now, this is exactly how you are, whoops. All right, let's start that over. This is exactly how you're going to find a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern, right? So what I'm seeing on this chart right here is boom, boom. Then you've got your head, right? And then you could potentially have a right shoulder coming over here, and then bam, a potential breakout, right? So whenever you're seeing this, you want to see it like relatively uniform. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you would like to see this be maybe even a little bit higher than your left shoulder, because what's that telling you? It's breaking market structure, right? So you set a low here, then you set a high, then you set a lower low, but now you're setting a higher high. And if you set a higher low, that is a pretty good indication that you could be moving up. Now, how do you find your price target on this? Well, it's pretty simple. You just drag it from the bottom of that head to the neckline, which is this dotted line right here. And then boom, you drag it right over here to where the neckline breakout would or could potentially be, which right now that breakout point would be about $85,000, 84.8, 84.9 in that range. And then you take 75% of that measured move, boom, you lock it in and you say, bam, my price target on this would be about $87,000. Now, where would you actually enter this trade, right? You always enter on the break and retest. You don't want to front run this. You don't want to be buying it down here, because if you start buying down here and then it comes down and it doesn't do a micro market structure shift and then it takes out this low, this pattern is absolutely nullified. So what you would want to do is, after you've broken out above this neckline and you come back down and retest it and bounce, you would want to buy whenever it actually breaks out above it and then comes back and retests it after a confirmation candle. And then obviously you want to set your stop loss just outside of that neckline so that you can make sure that you're protecting your capital and portfolio, right? And this would be a pretty decent trade if this were to happen. I'm not saying this is guaranteed going to happen, but this would be a good trade if it were to happen, because it would be a 3x risk to reward ratio. And that's essentially how you would trade a head and shoulders, and what you would be looking for on an inverted head and shoulders, which is a bullish pattern for a move up, okay? What's happening? What's happening? I mean, 84.6, man. I mean, it's trying for the breakout. Now we do see obviously see this stuff happening right here, which isn't necessarily what I would consider awesome, right? The 50 is, come down under the 200 and then bounce off of it. So if you lose that level, that 50 is going to come down really quickly under that 200. And if price comes down here, that's what's likely to happen. So you really need to hold this $83,000 range. As long as you stay above 83,000, even 82.5, and you get a nice bounce here, I mean, you could see bullish momentum. I'm not saying that you're guaranteed to do that, right? But, we will see. Give me 1 second. I need to save all this stuff as my inverted head and shoulders. 1 hour, I, H, and S. Boom, done. All right, cool. Now let's get this off of the chart, right? So what exactly is probably going to happen here? Well, I mean, we do have like almost like a quadruple top here, which if you know anything about supports and resistances, I mean, here's a quick lesson for you too. We have 4 kind of rejections here at the same level, right? Call it this level right here or so. We can even drag it down a little bit further right here, okay? So you're seeing wicks through it, but you're not seeing candles close above it, right? So this is almost like a quadruple top. But the one thing that I can tell you is the more that you bang on a level, just like if you're trying to like break through a door, right? It takes you like 5 tries to get through the door. You're probably not going to get it on your first try and then boom, just bust through it, right? So the more you bang on this as a resistance, the more likely it is to just come through, bam, on the next hit, right? So if you don't get a massive rejection here, you're probably going to see this thing, come down here and then start to trend up, and then it will break that resistance line, and then it will obviously flip it to support, and that will now be a pivot point, right? That would be a good place to start trying to think about entering a long position. If you were to flip that, the first thing that you would want to do is make sure that you take out those previous highs, right? At the very least with a wick, right? So this is the previous high right over here. Boom. If you take out that high, say you come up here, you take that high out with a wick or even a candle close is obviously better. and then you come back down here and you retest, that's where you would enter for a potential long position. And then obviously you would just set your stop loss below that previous wick low before the breakout came. And then you would be targeting at least a 2x risk to reward ratio on that. Or you can take and measure that previous move, which is this move right here, right? And take it and drag it, right? Boom, all the way up to the top, and then drag that right up here and then measure about 75% of that move. And this would be your price target on that if you were to get a breakdown of this level and a breakout, boom, to the upside. So the more you bang on these levels like this, the less likely they are to hold up. So that's one thing I will say. We've hit this level 4 times, and we're really trying to get through it at the 84, call it 84.8 range. And if you get through it, you enter on that retest, boom. I mean, you could be taking a 2x risk to reward ratio on this if you set your stop loss below the previous swing low. And if you set it even tighter than that, I mean, you got 5x, 7x risk to reward on this. So it really just depends on, you know, what your risk tolerance is, on what you want to set your stop loss at, and, you know, how big your position sizing is going to be on that trade, right? So that's another thing that I'm seeing right now is like the more we bang on that level, man, the more likely it is to break down. It's just my point, right? So, you know, just watch that level, that level right there, about $84,800, right? And, you know, if you get above that and get a bullish confirmation above it, that's going to be good news for Bitcoin. We'll see if this inverted head and shoulders actually plays out. It is slanting up. You know, you could see it happen. You could see it not happen, right? There's a lot of volatility in the market right now, but as you can see, I mean, there's a ton of bullish volume that's come in, you know, just recently right here. Could wreck my short. Absolutely could wreck my short. We've got 3 immediate bullish candles right here, which would be what I would call the 3 white soldiers. And if you want to understand, you know, the 3 white soldiers, this is not a confirmed 3 white soldiers pattern. Why? Because, I mean, you do have the 3 green candles right in a row, right? But here's the problem. You need to see increasing volume on all 3 candles for it to be actually a confirmed 3 white crows pattern. So you would have rather seen this candle right here is my point. So that's something that, you know, you got to take that into account, man. And we bounced right off of this 21 moving average. So, I mean, there is technically, it's looking like there's support there, right? The RSI has bounced. Is it going to keep continuing upward? It's tough to call. It's tough to call, but, you know, the stochastic is still heading downward. So we'll see what happens with the the stochastic RSI on that. And you still, again, you have the, you know, red dot on market cipher, and it does seem to be that money flow is starting to curl, or at the very least flatten out. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But, you know, obviously there's no guarantees in life. And there's definitely no guarantees in trading, right? So yeah, drop anything, you know, if you guys like this format and you like to actually learn, drop it in the comments section, and I'll keep teaching, right? Obviously we'll be doing the TA while I'm teaching and stuff, but I like to take that time out of, you know, the stream to actually let people understand what it is that I'm seeing, why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, right? I think that's incredibly valuable. That way you're not just relying on me to say, oh, hey, enter here, exit here, blah, 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 right? Because I only stream once a day, if that, right? Some days I don't even get to stream, right? Say it's a Saturday or a Sunday. We'll see, you know, but if you guys like the content, just, you know, let me know and I'll keep it up. I really like for people to be able to go out and like hunt and kill and eat for themselves rather than just like rely on me to blindly show them, you know, where to enter and exit. So yeah, I mean, just let me know. Do we have any altcoins that anybody wants me to look at, and just drop it in the comments section. If not, you know, we'll just, I'll pick my own and we'll take it from there. But yeah, see what we got. Yeah, 84.4, right? Let's see. Powell speech today. Okay, so inflation remains elevated. What is going on? Why is it doing this to me? Against target of 2%, Powell says. Stocks rose and bonds pared losses after the Fed held interest rates. Oh my gosh, what is up with this website? Get off of me. Like, I hate this stuff whenever you go on a website. Like, dude, don't cover up your whole website with friggin' ads, dude. That's crazy, man. I will never, ever visit your website ever again. Okay, so 2% remains elevated against target of 2%. All right, stocks rose, bonds pared losses after the Federal Reserve held rates steady as widely expected. Yep, makes sense. So they're holding rates steady. Did they say anything about announce its decision after 2 meetings? Hold the rate change at the current rate of 4. Dude. Please, for the love of God, get me off of this website. Oh my gosh. Get me off of this website. Yeah. Cuts growth forecast. Ooh, projects slightly higher inflation. I mean, that's not awesome. We'll see what happens. So it looks like a whole bunch of no news, right? And again, look at what gold's doing, baby. Gold's pumping, right? Like this is, I was talking about this on the on my post earlier today on verified investing, and I was saying, hey, what the heck is going on? Whoops, what is going on? Why is this all the way over here? Why did that expand so far? Look at that thing, man. Does not need to be that big. Yeah, I think gold's going to hit 3,050. Like it's about to set a new all-time high right now as we speak. How is Bitcoin going up right now? Like, how is Bitcoin going up? How is it not absolutely getting demolished? That's crazy to me. How Bitcoin is not getting absolutely wrecked right now. Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll see. Learning a lot. Please show more of this and appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, dude, 100%. Dude, I appreciate you. I am not going to be the Fed chair. I do not want that job. I do not want that job. It doesn't matter what you do when you're the Fed chair. Everyone's going to hate you either way. There's going to be both sides of the coin. There's going to be both sides of the market. There's going to be the people that want to see rate cuts. There's going to be people that want to see rate hikes. It doesn't. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. He's got a terrible job if he wants to be liked by people, right? Let's see. Oh, look at that. That's what we call a damn Daniel. It's almost hitting the target. It's almost hitting the target. $3,049 is what we need, and it's already at what, 3,048. This is where you enter the short. It's where you enter the short. I might actually have to tell people inside of the community, if we get up here past this level, you would be entering anywhere in the $3,049 range to about $3,055. I'll show you why. We've got these micro and macro, what are they called? Trend-based Fibonacci extensions that basically tell you where the top on something could potentially be, right? And I mean, this thing's got bearish divergences out the wazoo, right? Look at this. Gold. All right. Higher highs, lower highs on RSI, bearish divergence, very clear to see. That's on the hourly chart, right? You go to the 4-hour chart, guarantee you there's a bearish divergence there too, right? Let's turn all this stuff off. This is a rising wedge as well, just so that you know. Rising. Let's get that off of here. Where's my trend channel at? Okay. All right, check this out. Nope, that's not what I meant. Okay, so 4-hour chart. Look at this RSI. Boom. Pretty simple to see. Bearish divergence. Bam. Pretty simple to see. Now let's look at the daily chart. Right. Now look at this. Bearish divergence. Very clear to see, right? Not hard to see. Money flow is going up, though. I mean, it's hard to bet against gold right now, is my point. Like, it's really hard to bet against gold. Money flow is starting to curl down a little bit on the 4-hour chart. Let's see what it's doing on the 1 hour. Are we on the 1 hour? No, we're not. What is going on? 1 hour chart. Here we go. Now, still going up. I mean, you've got a bullish trigger wave here. I mean, this thing's going to keep going up. I think, this thing might be a runaway freight train, man. Could go up $3,100 really quickly. That's great for me. I love gold. I have gold. But I don't know if people are. What goes up must come down, man. Like, you got to come back. You can't just go up forever. You can't just go up and to the right forever. And I know crypto people hate hearing that, but that's life. That's markets. That's financial markets, and it is what it is. So let's check out some altcoins, baby. Solana. Let's see what Solana's doing. Okay, so all right, you're getting your bullish potential, whatever, right? Potential bullish like retest right here. You got your verified breakout, right? We'll pull this down. You got your verified breakout. You're getting your retest right here, but again, do you risk it for the biscuit here? Yeah, didn't they do this like weeks ago though, bro? Didn't they do that like weeks ago? They dropped that case. I feel like XRP already had its pump from that, so I would not be expecting anything from that. Is my point. So Solana, as you can see, double bottomed right here. Well, actually, this thing like quadruple bottomed right here. So this support that we drew a long time ago held up. This MA pattern or this head and shoulders definitely played out. Boom, right, bam, just bounced right off of the neckline on it. That thing's nullified in my opinion. Did not play out, will not play out, and that's that. Okay, what else do we got? What else do we got here? Why is this down here for? Okay. So if anybody took this short position here, you made money, right? Where we were talking about this, I believe it was yesterday, and I said, look, you come under here and you back test it, boom, you enter the short, you take that short down to this, whatever the heck it is, line, bam, you'd have made some decent money on that probably, if you would have taken that trade. But would you have taken that trade? Probably not, because you never would have gotten your real retest here. So, maybe you would have, maybe you wouldn't have. Would you take this long trade here? I mean, I think it really just depends on what you think is going to happen with Bitcoin, right? Because if Bitcoin keeps going up, then yeah, this would be a great trade, but you got to use Bitcoin as your barometer in this market. And there's no guarantees on what Bitcoin's going to be doing. So in my opinion, there's only two trades. Well, I mean, there's not no trade, but there's, wait and see, man. Here's your first trade, right? If you come under this line, boom, it's the same exact trade as we gave you yesterday. And then if you go above this line, you get a back test of it, and then Bitcoin starts pumping, then, here is a 3x risk to reward ratio, right? Pretty simple trade. And you might want to drag your stop loss a little bit under these lows, right? For this, you might even drag your stop loss up above these highs, right? Which this would be like a 1 to 1.3 risk to reward. It's not the best risk to reward. But you could also, if you come down here and you break those lows, you could now be targeting either this low right here, right? This one, or these lows even further down, which, I'd probably go there. I'd probably go right there. You could bring it all the way down here if you really wanted to, but that's risking it for the biscuit, in my opinion. This is a pretty good trade right here, about a 2x risk to reward ratio. This is a really good trade right here, 2.3x risk to reward. We'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. No guarantees on anything. No guarantees on anything. Looks like a couple people want to see some XRP. XRP. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, like, although we called this trade out, right? You never would have gotten this short position, which is fine. So we basically said, look, you come up here, you never got there, you couldn't short, okay? Then once you got up here, you blasted through it. Nobody would have entered here, so you never really got that short position. That's fine. Would you have gotten this long position, right? In my opinion, probably not. Why? Because it was just one friggin' big wick, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours ago, right? One big wick that took it from the 0.5 all the way up to almost a full retracement to the 1.0, which is all the way up here at $2.65, right? So you wouldn't have gotten this trade either, right? And in my opinion, there's only one trade here, right? And this is the trade. Oops. If Bitcoin starts to fall, then that's it right there. This is your trade. You come back down here to the 0.382. Boom. You've got probably what, a 2x risk to reward on this? Yeah, 1.84. And that's if you set it all the way up to the 1.0. If you set it above these previous swing highs, you've got a 3x risk to reward, or even right here, you know, you've still got like what, 2.5x. That's your only trade right now on XRP, right? Because you're going to be riding this trend channel. This is now a pivot point, right? So you're going to get resistance right here, right? And then you're going to get resistance at the top end of this trend channel. Are you willing to risk it here? I mean, if you come back down to the 0.618 and Bitcoin's pumping, then here's your other only type of trade that you could take, right? You long it at the 0.618 and you target the full move, right? Put your stop loss below the 0.5, right? Which is right where that breakout was at, right? Right where the breakout was. Boom, you target all the way up there. You got a 2.5x risk to reward ratio on it. That's your trade on, what's it called? XRP. So, you know, that's that. Does anybody have anything else? Let's see what we got on Bitcoin, on some of that Bitcoin. See what Bitcoin's doing. If somebody comes with one more, we can do one more. Yeah, I mean, you're getting a God candle right now on Bitcoin, you know. Are you going to be able to take out this high, right? 85,079. I mean, maybe, you know, we'll see. Woo! There's it's going. It's going. Okay. Okay. Let's see what we got. You said Ondo. You want to do some Ondo? Okay. Ondo. I think we did Ondo the other day. I feel like I do Ondo every day. Yeah. You still haven't gotten your trade on Ondo. I mean, this is the trade right here. That's all it is. You're literally, I mean, you can watch my stream yesterday. I don't really want to like re-explain all of this. But yeah, just fast forward until you see this on the screen and you'll see the analysis on it. The I guess the spoiler alert on it is if you drop down here to this bottom end of this trend channel, that's where you would enter along to target the top end of the trend channel. Or if you want to be super safe about it, you wait until that trend channel is broken and then you enter on the retest right here, like something like this. And then you enter that long and you target the 0.382 fib. And then if it doesn't, if nothing happens like that, then what you would do is you would want to enter a short if you came under this level, boom, 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 right? And then you would be targeting this previous support at about 50 cents, right? All of these are high risk to reward ratio trades. So with that being said, hopefully that is helpful to everyone. Hopefully, we'll see how the markets play out. Like, does Powell affect the markets? Does Bitcoin top out here, right? I want to go back to Bitcoin really quick. Yeah, I mean, there it is, It's going crazy. It is. Yeah, I mean, the RSI is like super overbought, right? Your stochastics are starting to curl back up. I mean, yeah, I mean, this could be the pump. You know what I mean? This could be the pump. But my guess is there could also be a subsequent dump right after this. Let's see where it could go just really quick, or where it could retrace to. Say that you're up here. I mean, retrace is 82.8. Worst case, retrace to about 82 to 82.8 is probably your retrace level if we get a rejection here. But if it just keeps ripping, I mean, it could be going pretty darn decently up, Let's see. Call it this right here. 87.8 is kind of your price target on this, right? Let's see if it's broken out of any of our patterns yet. Well, this head and shoulders, it never printed, so we can't say that it's that. The ascending triangle, yeah, I mean, 87.8, yeah, 87.3, 87.8, something like that. Micro cup and handle, I mean, that there's no handle there, so we can't really say that it's breaking out of that. Where's the ascending? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of breaking all of these charting patterns, right? And it's breaking market structure to where we could be heading upwards, right? Let's see, what else do we got? Okay. 1 hour cup and handle. Yeah, it's trying to break out of that too. Are we going to get a confirmation candle? We'll see, right? Falling wedge. It's testing the upper end of that falling wedge. That's for sure. It's trying to, at least at about 86.2 is the highest point that it can go. Descending triangle. Again, this is a bearish pattern, right? And it's much larger than pretty much everything except for that falling wedge. 1 hour cup and handle. Maybe it takes it there. Maybe it doesn't, right? And then your local FRVP is going to tell you exactly where the, it's breaking out of the value area high right now. Does it want to stay up here? Yet to be determined. We don't know yet. Falling wedge. Yeah, we already looked at that. Where's the other ones? Yeah, I mean, the ascending triangle, could this be a breakout of it? Yeah, it could be. But it is very small, this ascending triangle, comparatively to the rest of these charting patterns, right? These bearish ones. So you've got bullish charting patterns inside of massive bearish charting patterns, like micro bullish as opposed to macro bearish, right? And then you've got, obviously super micro, which could get you outside of this, right? And then get you your bounce. Head and shoulders is, we don't know anything about that yet. So we will see how this plays out tomorrow. In any case, you understand the levels, what we're looking at, what we're looking for, where those confirmations would come in. I will see you in the stream tomorrow. I appreciate everybody for showing up. Have a good day. Peace.